What is up, you guys? The Fallout What If here, and today I'm doing the What If. What if Izuku went to the Ruby universe? And this is basically this is an isekai by technicality, and this is called, he is known as the Shadow Man. Well, not from Call of Duty. If I was to actually give him a complete synopsis of the name, it would technically be deku, known as the Shadow User. And because I want it to be at least a little attached to the Ruby universe and not just a full-on, I don't know, just punch in the head, just like, oh yeah, you just gotta slap him in there. He technically has a bit of an important life ahead of him. Now, guys, settle in, guys, because this is gonna be a kick in the head. Now, where we're gonna go on to in this story is Izuku Midoriya, a young child and a kind person. A weak person, a timid, fragile one, but kind person nonetheless. He was a loving son and a once devoted follower of the Hero Society. Now, he's no more. See, what had happened was he became too depressed. And it wasn't just the whole not meeting All Might thing when he really wanted to ask him a question. And if it wasn't for the fact that All Might saved him, he could have just been dead. But no, he decided to power through. All of it was in vain. As Izuku's mind slowly deteriorated. Sorry about that, guys. Kind of have my lisp coming out again, so if I mess up on my T's and S's, or if I mess up with my speech, just know that I have a big tongue, so it's just like, it's hard to work this thing at times. But, for the most part, Izuku's mind did deteriorate nonetheless. And for that, Izuku did something that will not shock us all, but the sad part is he took Bakugo's advice. As Bakugo told him the magic words of, if you really want the power to get another quirk, just take a swan dive off the roof and hope in the next life that you have a badass quirk. And Izuku decided that, you know what, Bakugo, you're right. It was foolish of me of thinking that with what I am right now, I could ever hope to achieve this power. And this is when Izuku decided to roll the dice. And fate was surely not smiling on him, because there was no hero to save him. Nobody, no teacher, no student. Heck, why would the students try to help him out? All of them usually just kick him away. And as Izuku reached over the rails, he fell. With those few seconds, Izuku just thought to himself that he wanted to apologize to Inko. And think to himself that, Mom, I'm sorry that I wasn't the person that you should have been proud of. But I'm gonna take Bakugo's advice, and everything he wanted to do there slowly became an end. And as Bakugo was standing there, actually surprised that he did it, realizing that now he has nobody to pester him, and he doesn't have to worry about this Izuku, this this deku, to go ahead and just hurt him. I mean, not hurt him, but to get in his way And to be a thorn on his side, to him it was pure bliss. This Bakugo's life was surely becoming a... How would I say it? As his life decided to take a turn for the better in his head, Izuku's, well, his head kind of splattered, so not going to even talk about that. But Izuku did wake up. And he did wonder what was going on. And where was he? What was he doing here? Is this hell? Is this heaven? Is he in purgatory? Did he get into more trouble while he was thinking? Izuku sees a man walking towards him with something behind him. Something big. Something hairy. Something that looked like a bear. Izuku realized this. Izuku just started hauling ass and just ran for dear life. And as the man just pointed his hands at him, the bear followed. Charging towards him, the bear was gaining on Izuku. And Izuku realized that this bear was coming after him. And he thought to himself, what is he going to do? Because he's right now just getting tired. And he thought to himself, well, if I actually put effort to training, maybe I could have actually been a hero. But he thought to himself, there's no point of thinking negative right now. That he will have to think about this later. Now as Izuku was running, Izuku thought of a plan. He thought to himself, what if he just throws his shoe at the other direction? Surely this will work. And as Izuku waited for the perfect time to strike, Izuku got out of the... Izuku Izuku turned around very fast and tried to grab his shoe, realizing that his shoe is not there. Neither is his socks, his pants, his shirt, his underwear. As he realized that he's naked. And because he turned around, Izuku, he kind of lost speed. So the bear jumped on him. As this happened, Izuku thought to himself, well, I'm gonna die again. Maybe I'll live, maybe I won't. But it was good knowing you guys. And hopefully I don't taste that bad to the bear. And as he looks up, he just feels a licking sensation. As he thinks to himself, wait a minute, why is he licking me? I don't get it. And he just starts laughing, just telling him to just get off of me, please. Like, it's, how would I... it's kind of hard to think about getting licked, and, okay, that sounds wrong. But, as Izuku was laughing, he actually felt the bear get off of him. And realized that he was actually being, he actually saw a hand being put in front of him. And he says, get up now, child. We have a lot to discuss. And Izuku just says, okay, sir. And he says, you're Izuku Midoriya, if I'm correct. And he says, yeah, but how did you know? And he says, I needed some help. And I realized that since there's a lot of people showing promise, I decided to pick you. And Izuku says, why me? And he says, sir, I don't want to burst your bubble, but I'm quirkless. And he says, oh, I know. And he says, wait, how did you know? can you detect people's quirks? He says, no, I've just been keeping my eye on you. And he says, what are you talking about? Why would you keep your eye on me? I'm quirkless. He says, yes, child, I know that you're quirkless. But I needed somebody who was down on their luck. And Izuku says, okay. Then why did you call me? Or why am I here? And he says, oh, that's simple, really. I need you. I need your help. And Izuku says, okay, and sir, what kind of help do you need? And he says, I'm glad you ask. You see, I thought, since you have nothing in this world, and you're weak, you're quirkless, you have no actual attributes, you're not even funny, and not only that, seen by this run, you lack pretty much everything essential to being a strong, formidable person. And as Izuku feels the arrows of criticism just start stabbing him everywhere, the man says, but I believe you might be the perfect person to help me. And he says, with all due respect, how could I possibly help you? I'm dead. And he says, dead for now. But I decided to give you some help. He says, why would you help me? And he says, for the same reason why you fell off. You were really hoping for power. And I like your attitude. It may be frail and pathetic, but you're still a nice kid. Not once, if I ever remembered, did you ever have hatred in your heart. Well, sure, yes, you had hatred for yourself. You never really hated anybody else. Maybe it was the fact that you were just too timid. Maybe the fact was that you knew how the hierarchy was going in this world. And I'm deciding to go help you. And he says, so what do you need me to do, though? He says, I need you to be the Harbinger. And he says, wait, you want me to be a Shinigami? And he says, no. I need power. And I also need you to help me with my animals. He says, what animals? And he looks at the bear, and he looks at the crystallized, those red eyes of the bears, known as an Ursa. And Izuku just looks at him and says, sir, I don't think I'll be able to go up against these things, much less capture them. And he says, oh, no. I know you can, and I know you would. You see, I'm willing to give you a deal. A deal that is no strings attached. Not only that, if you choose to not do it, I will not punish you for that. Because I genuinely think that you're a kind person. And I know you wouldn't betray me. He says, what's in it for you? He says, well, I'm glad you asked. You see, someone has taken my power. A small portion of it, but mine nonetheless. You see, someone stole my power, and over time it was used to corrupt, used to mangle, used to disgrace what I hold sacred when I was small. He says, why are you telling me this? He says, because this is an important part of the story. And he says, a long time ago, when I was a small child, I was gifted with the powers of darkness and the power to, let's just say, create creatures of a certain kind. Although they were feared, they did not impose great danger to the lands. They were nothing more than just harmless animals living the life as normal. And he says, okay, so what are you going to do, though? What do you want me to do? And he says, be patient, young one. With this story being untold, you'll understand. And as I was a child creating these creatures, my brother, the Light One, he was loved because he guided people. Oh, how many times he's given people hope. And even though I was jealous, I never despised him for that. It made me grow to love him even more as a brother. To see that he... Sorry about that. To see him at least being someone who was loved and cherished. It did not bother me. And a group of people that were like me and my brother named him the Light User. For that I was proud. But they did ended up calling me the Dark User. Although I created life to these creatures, who are known now as the Grim, they were just known as the Shadowed, as the animals of Shadow. Sure, was it ominous? Yes, I understand. But these creatures had nothing to do with evil. They were just a part of a cycle that people feared. Until one day, something went wrong. One day I was kidnapped. And even though I was strong, I wasn't omnipotent. I wasn't all cracked up to be. My powers were being siphoned by an unknown entity, who to this day I still do not know, since I am technically casted away. And as my people came to me, they saw me as a disgrace. Instead of the shadow animals, or known as the animals of Umbra, they stripped me of my title, banished me, and not only that, casted me out, never to see them again. For the only way I could ever see them, and truly be with them again, was to get back my powers. And that's where I come in, sir? Yes. Yes, indeed. I'm glad that you're catching on. Now, I was told, once I captured these powers, once I got my abilities back, I will no longer be hated. And I will be known as the user of shadows once again. But they knew that this will be a tough challenge for me, because since my powers were only in the darkness, I can only survive in the dark. These powers were not only what got me to be stepping around in the light, but they were the thing that made me an equal to my brother. It is a shift in balance. When one power is stronger than the other, there will be a shift to where either it is gone forever, or it will be of no use to where it will be just as it will just be the same. And Izuku says, "That's terrible. And how do we help you?" And he thinks to his mind, saying that this kid, just hearing my life story, and he's willing to just go into the battlefield. Oh yes, I will treat him good. And he says, "Well, Izuku Midoriya, I will lend you these powers. Not lend, I would say. Give. For you see, even though I am technically the user of Shadow, when I get my powers back, I decided to give you some abilities. Since I still have power, I possess the ability of blessings." And he says, "What do you mean, blessings?" And he says, "Come here, child. Why don't I show you something that you can only use?" And as he grabs Izuku's head, he says, "Close your eyes and only see darkness. And pull what you can." This is when Izuku just tries to pull. And as the Shadow Man looks at him, he tells him to pull harder. Those powers that you want are right there in your mind. If you pull them out, they're yours. And this is when Izuku tries and says that he can't. "It's dark to where I can't even grab anything." He says, "But that's the thing. You have to believe in the shadows. Do not see it as enemy, but see it as an ally. And also see it as its own thing. Not evil or good." And Izuku concentrates again. And as he reaches deep inside the Shadowlands, he grabs onto something. A weird texture. Almost as if it was stone. Almost as if everything he touched was no longer that of air, but it was that of numbing. If everything in his body started to numb out, to be numb, my bad. As everything in his body starts to become numb, Izuku starts to actually feel as if something started to course through his veins. And as Izuku started to become more and more, as he starts to pull more and more, the man quickly grabs him. And he just he doesn't grab him, sorry. And as he quickly separates from him, Izuku looks at him and says, "What just happened to me?" And he says, "Izuku, what happened was you are now a user of the shadows." He says, "The user of the shadows? Well, that's... I mean, I'm honored, but do you really think I can actually use it?" He says, "Do not fear, Izuku. You are not evil." Give me a second here. Alright. And as he says, "Do not fear, Izuku. You are not evil. You are not good. You are somebody who has a new life. Speaking of new life, it is time for you to go out there and become the hero that you always wanted to be. Whether it's to save the world, whether it's to be a hero of the people. The more Grim you kill, the less power she'll have. But don't think she doesn't that killing a few would just weaken her. Oh no. By But if I remembered, there was not only hundreds or thousands, but millions of them all around the world. And he says, so wait, don't people kill them? In this world, doesn't people kill them? Says, oh yes, they do. But the thing is that when you kill them, they come back to me. He says, so when they come back to you, when they come back to me, I will start having power. Although, like I said, there are millions of them that you would have to kill all on your own. And he says, so what happens when other people kill them? He says nothing happens. It's just the fact that when they die, the energy goes back to her. I mean, it goes back to the person who used my powers. And he says, okay, but question. Shoot. How do I get back to my world? And he says, you don't. Your body was destroyed beyond recognition. Your head splattered. Although you may no longer have that body, there will be a body that will be created. Although this will put me out of commission for a while, you will have a body nonetheless. And he says there are a couple of people. One of them is a carbon copy of you. And he says, oh, you're right. That looks just like me. And he says, the only difference is that you had lighter greenish hair. Right here, you have darker hair. Although people have to actually notice it, it is green. It is just a very dark green. And he says, well, how come it's that dark? And he said, it's just a representation of who you are and how you were born. You are known as the Shadow Man. And he says, but wait, aren't you the Shadow Man? He says, no, I am not the Shadow Man. That is just a name that people call me. A title, if you will. My true name is Umbra. He says, Umbra? He says, yes. Now, why don't I send you back to this world? And he says, there's a person there who I actually want you to watch out. And he says, what do you mean? He says, I want you to watch him. Be friends with him. Be close to him. For he has power as well. I can feel it. And he says, do you know his name? And he says, no, I do not know his name. Although, you will find out what his name will be in the future, if you play your cards right. He says, okay, sir, you've never told me about the powers I have. And this is when he says, oh, yes. These are, if I remember correctly, think of it as like a quirk. Hold on here. Sorry, guys, I'll take care of the baby. Think of it as a quirk. But it's not really a quirk. It's a thing that the soul has. It is something that takes up after you. He says, what is that like? He says, it is technically called a semblance. But with all that good stuff that you'll probably learn when you get there. I will tell you this. It is the power of one's soul. He says, so this is the power of my soul? And he says, no. That is the power of my blessings. And he says, and this is when he says, so what kind of power is this then? And he says, judging by what you pulled out, you pulled a dual combination. Well done, Izuku. The last three people I once blessed in the past, who I wanted to help me, used it for evil, but they ended up dying. Which is because of the fact that not only did they defy me, and he says, but wait, I thought you said we could be free. And he says, oh yes, you could be free. I'm not going to kill you off like that. Believe me, Izuku, you are not someone who is evil. They decided to use my powers for their own selfish deeds and decided to terrorize people, cause harm to them. And he says, who were they? And this is when he says they were heroes. He says, what? He says, oh yes, they were heroes. There were a couple of evil people, good people, if I was to be technical, since they were falling under the hero category. He says, so what were they like? He says, well, one of them had the ability to become 3 times his size. And, as luck would have it, he had a shadow ability that he had a blessing that I gave him. But decided to go on a rampage, deciding that that the world system was messed up. And he caused mayhem, but he ended up dying due to me no longer giving him a blessing. Another one. Oh, she was a lovely young woman. She was sweet and kind. But because of some troubles, she decided to go the darker path. Kept killing everybody, fueled by vengeance and hatred. She never got a semblance. It was the fact that she was so kind, but she never felt the dark and disgusting taste of the world. Especially with a world like this that kills on a day-to-day basis, humans and grim. That's sad. The last one, he was a kind person as well. But he decided to lead his own version of a cult. Disbanded and already destroyed. This man had an ability to grab any seeds and use them against others by growing them and destroying other things around his path. And when I took him in and gave him a blessing, it was to create identical versions of anything of his choice. But instead of it being organic, it was made by the shadows. Oh, he killed many people with that. And called himself the true Shadow King. With this growing of nature, he was known as the nature's shadow. Although he was a good man, his ideologies left him astray. He says, if you ever choose to become that dark, I will have to take away your abilities. Now, let's say you go and you go here. It says it's a small island. It is hundred miles away from the mainland. But this is where you'll meet that person. And Izuku says, okay, sir. But Mr. Umbra? And he says, what, Izuku? And he says, thank you for everything. I'll try my best to become the hero that these people need. And as he smiled, he tells him, do not worry about it. And go become the hero you can truly become. And as Izuku actually starts feeling himself go to sleep, the grass settles. And as something starts coming out of the ground, Izuku is passed out and then wakes up the next day, seeing the forest around him. And as he sees that this island is beautiful, he sees a small village out there, and when he goes into it, he sees everybody. He sees everything around this world. Not around this whole world, mind you. But he sees that there are faunas around, which Umbra did tell him, thankfully, because of, plot. He managed to, well, if I was to put it bluntly, gather courage to be happy. And now that he no longer has these fears, Izuku's willing to use what he has to good use. And now, his new hero journey begins. Technically, this will be called My Ruby Academia. Although it does kind of sound kind of cringe. It kind of sounds cringy. I think it's a good story. But that is where I'm going to be leaving off today. And tomorrow, hopefully tonight, or not tonight, or yeah, tonight, I'll make another part, or I will do a new video. Which there are a couple of new videos, but I feel like I want to finish this one off first, kind of like how I did the Ghost Rider one. But this is just an epilogue, the part 0 to this. So, yeah. Hopefully you guys will be happy with this, and if not, then I truly apologize for disappointing you guys. But now, as I once said, and I'll say it again, like, comment, do subscribe to the channel here, people. This has been the Fallout Whatever here. Bye.